Greetings, OKCPS stakeholders. This presentation will give you a basic overview to our Pathway to Greatness project, which is one of our major strategic initiatives for the 2018-2019 school year. Our Pathway to Greatness project is a key strategic step in accomplishing the mission and vision that the Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education has outlined for the district in achieving equity and excellence for all of our students every day. Before we dive into the process details of our Pathway to Greatness project, I want to define some key terms so that we're all speaking the same language through this process. The first and most important term that we want to bring to your attention is trade-ups. Part of what we're trying to accomplish through this project is making decisions to redirect resources toward the things that we really value, optimal uses that provide additional educational opportunities for our students. We also hope to achieve greater equity. What equity means in OKCPS is making decisions strategically with the intention of closing opportunity gaps for our kids and providing them with the resources that they need. On the table through this process will be some changes potentially to the way that our schools are designed and the structure of the district. It could include repurposing, which is changing the use of a current school building to something else. We might see redistricting in these proposals and visions for the district. That would mean changing attendance boundaries for a neighborhood school zone. Potentially on the table is school closure, which would be decommissioning a facility so that it's no longer operating as a school. We'll also be talking about grade bands, which is the span of grades that is served within a single school facility. We also want to talk about choice options, which would be educational programming that families select other than their zoned neighborhood school. There's also a possibility for the expansion of some of our current programmings, offering additional seats for those programs that are desired by our families, as well as replication. This might include opening new locations or expanding into additional locations existing programs within the district. Now that we're on the same page about this terminology and we all understand that the goal of this process is to increase educational opportunity for our students, I want to share with you some data about where our schools currently are and how we're currently operating so you understand how we came to propose this process. District enrollment is a really critical indicator for us because enrollment weighted based on student characteristics is the driver of our funding from the state level. As you can see from this graphic, our enrollment has been declining slightly in our neighborhood schools, the schools that are run by the district, and we expect it to level off at around 37,000 to 38,000 students over the next few years. The reality that we must face when planning for the future is that those approximately 38,000 students we anticipate serving in our district-run schools over the next decade are currently being served in buildings that were designed to house over 60,000 students. About a third of our available instructional capacity is vacant in our district. That's higher at the elementary level, where we're operating at about 60% of our capacity. It's a little lower at the high school level. And as we know, we have some schools that are overcrowded and some schools that are significantly under-enrolled. So it looks, there's a wide variation across the district and what this looks like. In the context of, for example, the amount of money that we spend each year on utilities, that's about $7 million. Something like $2.4 million of that money is being spent to heat and air condition empty space. And we really feel strongly, since we see that our enrollment will be leveling off in all likelihood, that we need to consider redirecting some of those funds into our instructional program away from operating empty space in the district. Over the last few years, Oklahoma City Public Schools has been having a number of conversations related to these long-range planning activities, and the Pathway to Greatness project is bringing all of those puzzle pieces together into one consolidated initiative. We're looking at facilities assessment, demographic study, planning for future bond, as well as potential redistricting and repurposing, working with our partners, thinking about the brand of the district, and engaging our community all through a single lens so that we make sure that all of these paths are leading to the same outcome, and that is an outcome designed for more educational opportunity for students. In having these conversations over the last few years, we've learned a lot through listening to our community, and we're trying to allow that learning to guide the process moving forward. Here's what we've learned from our community. The way that we've been doing things, the status quo, is not acceptable and it's not working for our kids. We feel strongly that the way that we have operated in the past is part of the problem that we face, and so we have to think about a new way of doing things that really looks at the system as a district and doesn't just look at certain parts of the district and try to solve small pockets of problems. We also know that we have excellence, pockets of excellence happening in the district, and that we want to really build on those things while we also focus on improving what's not working. And we have to be aware of the past, but focused on the future and a new way of serving our kids in the 21st century, a way that very likely we may have never seen before. A theme that I hope you've heard in this introduction to the Pathway to Greatness is values. We are trying to approach this change effort through a set of guiding principles that reflect our true core values of educating children above all else. The guiding principles for this project are that we believe our top priority has to be serving students equitably. We believe families deserve high quality educational opportunities and 21st century learning environments. We believe racially and socioeconomically integrated schools are best for our students, and that planning in consistent feeder patterns and grade bands will provide the best experience for our students. We also believe in keeping neighborhoods together and that every district facility should be used for a positive community purpose. There are many leaders that are instrumental in taking these values and creating a vision for the district that will express them in the future design of our system. The role of the board in this is to vote on the criteria. They voted on the contract with our vendor, ADG. They also will vote on recommended policy changes and the ultimate vision for the system. The superintendent is leading this work as the administrative leader of the district. He will be recommending the plan to the board after it's come through our advisory committees, and he's providing through this process management oversight to the process. ADG is an architectural firm that is specializing in assessing the facilities, doing demographic data, and evaluating data to develop the visions for redesigning the future of the district in consultation with the staff and the advisory teams. And most importantly, we have two critical advisory teams in addition to the internal staff project team. And I'll talk about those in a few minutes about the makeup of these teams. They will really be studying the data, evaluating research, and providing recommendations related to what this plan should look like. I want to provide you with a quick glimpse of the planning criteria that the Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education has provided to the district as we are moving forward with this process and evaluating our facilities and our schools. You can see from this list of criteria in Policy D12 Long Range Master Planning that we are not looking only at utilization, we're not looking only at academic performance, but instead we're looking at a comprehensive set of factors that will influence the direction and the vision that we create for each community and the overall vision for the district. Facilities planning is an important part of the pathway to greatness, but it's important to see how the pathway is also connected to the strategic development of our district's plan for serving our students. Several years ago, thousands of community members came together in the Great Conversation and created the Great Commitment, which is our current strategic plan. We have continued to work towards developing the programmatic pieces of the strategic plan, and this pathway to greatness is the next critical step in making sure that we align our resources and our programming to be able to fulfill the commitment that we have made to our students and their families. The Pathway to Greatness project itself is a phased process designed with the intention of aligning our facilities and our resources with the instructional needs of our students in an equitable way. To get there, this will include a community engagement process that incorporates the voices of our families and informs families, staff, and the public at each step. The outcome of this process will be a plan that charts a path forward to improve the health of the system, to achieve greater equity, and to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to leverage the resources that we have to close opportunity gaps for our students. 3 core teams, the Navigators, the Trailblazers, and the OKCPS internal staff project team, are dedicating time and providing leadership to this effort. Led by OKCPS Chief Operations Officer Scott Randall and Alliance for Economic Development CEO Kathy O'Connor, the Navigators team is a team of community leaders who are providing oversight, they are reviewing data, and they will ultimately review the visions and make a recommendation for the best option to Superintendent Sean McDaniel. This team is partially made up of appointees from our Board of Education so that there are representatives of each part of our system on the committee. There are several district staff appointees as well as community leaders appointed by our superintendent. The Trailblazers team is a group of visionary educators, all OKCPS staff members, facilitated by our District Chief of Staff, Rebecca Kay. This team is made up of teachers, school administrators, and central office administrators from across the district, representing all the various regional portions of the district, the different content areas, really coming together to look at research and talk about big topics that we need to come to consensus about, such as the grade bands that our schools serve, the size that we think that our schools should be, and the essential core offerings of the district, as well as potential future choice options. We want to be clear that this project is a large undertaking and it will require multiple years of time and investment from the district. As the Trailblazers' recommendations are operationalized in the vision that's proposed by the Navigators and eventually approved by the board. What we envision happening as a result of this process is that the 2018-2019 year will be spent planning for repurposing and closure actions that will be implemented on day 1 of 2019, as well as any boundary and grade realignments that might be supported by existing facilities. These changes would be ready to occur in August of 2019. Next year, the 2019-2020 school year would be spent planning for launching new programs and replications that might be implemented day 1 of 2020. It will require us a planning year in order to really expand the offerings beyond what we currently have occurring in the district. We also see that year being spent planning for a potential bond election to support our recommendations in the future. Beyond that, in the 2020-2021 school year and following, we will see some potential repurposing and boundary realignments that need a bond to occur in order to support changes to our current facilities and any construction projects that would have to occur before those realignments would be able to be supported by our buildings. This timeline shows the detailed process that the district expects to follow on our pathway to greatness this school year. This summer, we began working with our contractor to do a demographic study and assess our facilities. We have kept our board updated. We also have appointed our Trailblazers and Navigators teams. These teams have begun meeting this fall and will be providing recommendations from the Trailblazers to ADG to inform the visions that they develop for what the future structure of the district might look like. In November, we expect to have a first set of community engagement meetings. These have already been scheduled, including one meeting in Spanish, to make sure that the public has an opportunity to hear directly from our superintendent about this process. Beginning in January, the Navigators team will receive visions from ADG for what the future footprint of the district might look like, how the realignments might occur, and these will be presented to the community and engagement meetings at the end of January. In February, we expect the navigators team will hear input and boil down the recommendation to one vision that they think is the best option for our community, and they'll present this recommendation to the superintendent. On February 19th, we anticipate having a board meeting at which the board will receive the superintendent's recommendation, followed by a set of community hearings at the end of February in any school community that might be affected by this recommendation. We are aiming for a March 4th board vote at which the board will consider approval for the superintendent's recommendation for this vision. And following any board action, we would do detailed project planning about how we will implement this process, this recommendation going forward. Keeping our community informed about this process and listening to our community are the most important parts of the Pathway to Greatness project. The first set of community meetings that will be focused on the process itself have already been scheduled in early November from the 5th through the 12th. These meetings will occur in high schools across the district. Each of them will have Spanish translation available, and the meeting on November 8th at U.S. Grant High School will be presented entirely in Spanish, with English translation available for those who need it. The next set of community meetings that have been scheduled are at the end of January, the 23rd through the 30th. This set of meetings will be geared toward sharing the visions that are presented to us from ADG and getting your feedback on them. We know for sure that there will be great ideas in our community that we can't have anticipated, and we want to be able to incorporate those into the visions that we have for our schools. So please plan to attend the meeting nearest you. Again, these meetings will be available translated into Spanish, as well as the meeting on January 24th at U.S. Grant being conducted completely in Spanish with English translation available. The Oklahoma City Public Schools Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Sean McDaniel know that there are some tough choices ahead, but we are committed to doing it together with our community. Our goal together is clear, and that is providing educational opportunities equitably to all of our students in Oklahoma City Public Schools. And we appreciate your feedback, we appreciate your partnership, and we appreciate your support on our pathway to greatness.